At this point, it just seems like there's a constant cycle of new YouTubers being accused of serious wrongdoing, with the outcomes of these cases varying from their audiences not caring to them disappearing from the website for good. This brings us to today's story, that of an old-school creator from a bygone era with an aging fan base who has been brought back into the spotlight for less than stellar reasons. But before I go into that, let me provide some context. In the old days of YouTube, there was a thriving community of Let's Players, people who recorded themselves playing through video games and providing commentary over them. Of this group, one name stood out as being among the most popular, chuggaaconroy. Real name Emil, Chugga gained a reputation for his goofy sense of humor and deep love for Nintendo games, as he went in-depth showcasing as many hidden secrets and details as he possibly could. While the early Let's Play genre eventually faded from popularity, Chugga continues uploading to his over 1 million subscriber YouTube channel, consistently gaining steady if fairly unimpressive viewership numbers. On top of this, he also maintains a collaborative channel called The Runaway Guys, with fellow old-school Let's Players Proton John and Nintendo Capri Sun. By all accounts, it seemed as though he was holding on to a steady career despite the fact that his glory days were over. That is, until a scandal struck out of the blue, which we'll learn more about after a brief word from our sponsor. Are you sick of always having to go out or paying high delivery fees to get greasy fast food that makes you not feel that well? Well, luckily Factor has a solution to your problem. Factor makes meeting your nutritional goals easier than ever by delivering fresh, never frozen, dietitian-approved meals right to your doorstep. I like Factor because it allows me to choose meals that fit my dietary needs. You could pick whether you want certain types of meat, or a certain amount of calorie, or a certain amount of protein. It's all customizable, and you could choose your meals based off of what is your preference. On top of that, it's so much more convenient than fast food because you don't have to risk them screwing up your order, or having to drive across town to pick it up. I should also add that Factor is extremely flexible with how many meals you receive. Some weeks you may need 4, others you might need 18. Well, it's all good because you could just change it with a few simple clicks on their website. As a person who has gotten to better shape over the past few years myself, I can say services like Factor are paramount to achieving your goals. Having something convenient to eat that's healthy and controls your portion is half of the battle when trying to lose weight. So to try out Factor for yourself, head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code GFM50 to get 50% off your first Factor box. At that price, you really can't go wrong, so I highly recommend everyone watching this video at least give it a shot. It all started on January 16th, 2024. When another YouTuber named Lady Emily tweeted vaguely about seeing people on Reddit describing a YouTuber who had sexually harassed her as Wholesome. She continued dancing around the subject, posting a follow-up tweet name-dropping several games which were known to be favorites of Chugga's. Finally, she came out and said what some had already suspected. Last year, chuggaaconroy kept trying to get me to initiate erotic foot fetish roleplay with him while he also had a girlfriend. This included sending shoes to my house under the guise of a gift, only to constantly ask for feet pics afterwards. In the replies, Emily provided several screenshots of Discord conversations between herself and Chugga. As she told the story, they had met after he showed up in the chats of her live streams back in December of 2022, and they soon began talking in private. Things started getting strange when Emily posted a selfie to Twitter with her sneakers visible in the background, which Chugga quickly took notice of and messaged her about. After that, shoes and feet became a frequent topic of discussion between the two of them, a fact which Emily claimed to be uncomfortable with in her tweet thread. According to her, he would often derail their conversations just so he could talk about them, including one instance in which he seemingly halted a chat about video games in order to ask her sneaker size. On top of this, she claimed that not only had Chugga sent her sneakers and asked for pictures of her wearing them, but the screenshot she shared also implied that he at one point had taken possession of her shoes for a brief period of time. This particular exchange prompted one of the most widely quoted memes to come out of the fiasco. Man, big and stinky, you've got it all. After a while, Emily finally got fed up and stopped responding to his texts, resulting in Chugga relentlessly spamming her inbox with messages trying to reignite their conversation. Emily stated that her reason for making all of this public was first and foremost to get it all off her chest. but also to expose a pattern of behavior that Chugga had apparently exhibited with multiple other women. In addition, she believed that Chugga was cheating on his girlfriend by engaging in these types of conversations. While many people simply decided to make jokes about chuggaaconroy's foot fetish, a great number of people chose to stand in solidarity with Emily, believing her to be a victim of a creepy pervert. His subscriber count even took a fairly substantial hit in the days following the thread's release. However, not everyone was convinced. It's important to note that among Emily's many pieces of evidence was a screenshot of a message sent by Chugga explaining his intentions. As he told it, while he did find feet to be sexually attractive, he also found the topic of shoes to be genuinely interesting even outside of that context. He claimed to have talked about them with many of his friends in a non-sexual manner all the time, and that his significant other was fully understanding and supportive of it. He also asked Emily if she felt comfortable continuing their correspondence knowing this information. In her thread, she framed this as Chugga lying in order to cover up his true intentions, following up the screenshot with another message from the same day, in which he tried to engage her in what she described as fetish italicized text roleplay. This was the sticking point for many people, since Emily did not show how she responded to the original message asking if she was comfortable with the subject of shoes and feet. These onlookers argued that she was purposely leaving out valuable context in order to strengthen her case. They claimed this threw a wrench into her entire argument, since the only reason they could think of why she wouldn't post her reply was because she told him that the topic didn't bother her, thus severely harming her accusation of sexual harassment. Put simply, they believed if she had just told him to stop, he would have stopped. It didn't take long for Chugga to respond, posting 2 tweets later that same day, apologizing to Emily and promising to release a more fleshed out statement in the next few days once he had gotten a chance to compose his thoughts. It didn't help that this had happened directly before MagFest, a gaming convention historically attended by the old-school Let's Play community. The Runaway guys announced that they would be one man short during their annual panel, Throne Controllers. While they didn't specify which man would be missing, it wasn't hard for viewers to guess. For her part, Emily soon posted claiming that while she did hope Chugga could learn and grow from this experience, she did not accept his apology. Specifically, she took issue with the fact that he seemed to be framing it as an isolated incident when she had allegedly been contacted by multiple other women who had very similar stories about him. As the days went on and more people began scrutinizing Emily's story, she decided to post even more screenshots in order to clear up the confusion. While she claimed that this was to better visualize how persistent he was with his pursuit of feet talk, her detractors claimed the opposite to be true. Recall the message from earlier in which Chugga explained his interest in feet to Emily. Well, these screenshots finally showed her direct response. She said, quote, "Good to have that openness and common understanding." In addition, there were other examples from these screenshots of Chugga asking if she was comfortable with the topic of conversation, and she confirmed she was each and every time. Emily tried to explain this away by claiming that she subtly hinted that she was not interested multiple times, but due to her anxiety and depression, it was difficult for her to tell him directly to stop. Supporters of chuggaaconroy took issue with this too. Clearly, he fell somewhere in the autism spectrum and struggled with a lack of understanding of social cues. If mental health was her reasoning for not directly shutting down the foot talk, why could she not extend him the same benefit of the doubt? As time went on, a public perception toward Emily began to dip somewhat. Even if people thought what Chugga did was creepy, they believed his actions did not warrant a public shaming on this level, and certainly didn't reach the heights of sexual harassment. That being said, people did begin digging into Chugga's past, and found some eerie coincidences. Most notably, in an old deleted video from his channel titled 50 Facts About chuggaaconroy, the Let's Player told a story about being falsely accused of sexual harassment in school.
I only ever had detention one time in my life, and it was for something I didn't do. A girl who hated me falsely claimed that I sexually harassed her in 6th grade, and at the time I didn't even know what the term sexually harassed meant.
Finally, on January 22nd, Chugga released his full statement on Facebook. He once again apologized to Emily and expressed his regret that he had ever made her uncomfortable in any way. He also took the time to apologize to anyone who may have been put off by his interest in feet. This statement also reiterated several things that had previously been mentioned in the callouts, namely that his girlfriend was aware of what was happening and was supportive of it, and that shoes were an interest of his that were not necessarily sexual. He also included one detail that Emily seemingly neglected to mention, namely that she actively reached out to him in private earlier in order to express her feelings, and they had talked it out to the point that he had decided to attend therapy in order to better himself. This was a smoking gun for his defenders, who saw it as unequivocal proof that Emily had lied by omission. Even people who supported her largely viewed this as a decent apology. While it seemed to many that this would be the end of the story, things weren't quite finished just yet. The next day, another Let's Player by the name of Must Say on Ella posted their own tweet thread going over her thoughts about chuggaaconroy. She and Chugga had been very close collaborators several years ago, with them even living together as roommates for a period of time. They were so close, in fact, that many people in their fan base liked to ship them together. According to her, he had pushed boundaries in the relationship many times in the past, and had sent her several apologies that she believed rang hollow. While Must Say did not specify what exactly he had done, she had apparently cut ties with him several years prior, and was finally ready to publicly tell her audience to stop associating them together. Even though Must Say did not state what exactly had happened between the two of them, internet sleuths did begin digging in order to see what they could uncover. By searching through old videos, they found multiple examples of chuggaaconroy making inappropriate statements that appeared to make her uneasy.
My rage is making me heated. I should take off my jacket. No, Emil!
I'm sorry.
No! Do not!
I am
Do not!
so sorry.
Do not want!
Beyond this, some people decided to take their theorizing a bit deeper. You see, it appeared as though her final public interaction with Chugga had occurred in July of 2021. Around the same time, she started getting close with another streamer named Brett Ultimus. By October, the two were dating. For years afterward, though, people continued believing that she and chuggaaconroy were a couple. Brett himself had expressed his disapproval with the public perception. While nothing is confirmed, some people speculate that as things got more serious with Brett, Masay became more and more annoyed with how people speculated about her relationship with Chugga, and perhaps became upset with him for allowing it to continue without saying anything. Again, this is entirely speculation, but it's a theory that has been thrown around regardless. Following Masay's thread being posted, a couple other women stepped forward to echo her statement. While none of them provided any evidence, they all told similarly vague stories of how Chugga made them uncomfortable in the past, and wanted nothing to do with him anymore. Emily herself even came forward to offer her final thoughts on the matter. She mainly reiterated her statement from earlier, saying that she did not accept Chugga's apology, but that she genuinely hoped that he intended to better himself. She did throw in one last previously unmentioned detail at the end. According to her, Chugga's claim that they had hashed out their differences in private was false. As she told the story, she had to go through one of their mutual friends in order to get him to stop messaging her after he had allegedly spread her personal information and made her feel unsafe. While her supporters viewed this as definitive proof that Chugga was no longer to be trusted, her detractors continued to poke holes in the story. Up to this point, Emily had been the accuser who was most forthcoming with evidence against chuggaaconroy, yet this claim was accompanied by 0 screenshots. If he had truly been spreading her personal information to people, why was this not included in her initial call-out? As the fallout of the situation continued, the webmaster of the Runaway Guys website announced that they would be temporarily going offline following a mutual discussion with Proton John. As it stands now, Emily has claimed that she is done talking about chuggaaconroy, and his other accusers have stated that they do not want anything to do with the situation. As for his fellow Runaway Guys members, both have issued brief statements on the matter. Proton John kept things simple, claiming that he was still sorting through his emotions and would need more time before he was ready to speak out fully. Nintendo Capri's son, on the other hand, posted a thread stating that, while he did not approve of what Chugga did, he would stand by him as a friend and see that he got the help that he needed. He also mentioned that the future of the Runaway Guys is currently in limbo. Before the dust could have a chance to settle though, one more bombshell would still drop. On January 25th, a Twitter user by the name of Worcester posted a tweet on behalf of an individual who identified herself only as Lolly. She claimed that she had been in contact with chuggaaconroy back in 2010, when he was 19 and she was 15 going on 16. She provided screenshots to back up these allegations, as well as a lengthy Google Doc going into further detail and providing their complete chat logs together. The screenshots show proof that Chugga was aware of Lolly's age and they were engaging in fetish roleplay. The words rape and pedo had been thrown around frequently in their conversations, however jokingly the tone may have been. As if this weren't bad enough, Lolly also included images showing that she and Chugga had remained in contact and were still engaging in consensual roleplay scenarios as late as November of 2022. Many, including Emily, jumped on this by giving their deepest sympathy for what this person had to go through, while others, including Destiny, mocked the response since these were cringe comments between two teenagers well over a decade ago. As for what Chugga is up to while this downward spiral is occurring, well, according to his friends, he's heavily medicated and doesn't have full access to the outside world. As of writing, it appears he's lost 30,000 subscribers over this ordeal, which is quite substantial for a channel without an actively growing audience to replace those lost fans. As I see it right now, if these perverted DMs trace all the way back to 2010 and end in 2023, I foresee even more leaks occurring of his messages to women. And it's crazy to think that all of this went down because a Redditor referred to him as Wholesome.